what's up, y'all? It's me, Erica. I watched the Red Table Talk with Snoop Dogg today, and I want to talk about it. Now, I really want to say right off the bat that I really don't have any critiques about it. I know that some people did based on a clip or whatever or what have you, but I really don't have anything like Snoop or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I still like Snoop. I still like him. I still and the way that he approached this situation, I feel okay with. You know what I'm saying? In comparison to the likes of a T.I., where he was not or seemed unwilling to actually hear what someone was saying to him and actually listen to the feedback and actually admit that they were wrong in how they handled the situation. Jada opened up with saying, "I'm not here to take sides." She said she invited Gayle. It's an open invitation for Gayle. And she wanted to talk about healing and the wounds and the culture of disrespect between black men and black women. Now, do I think they had enough time to really, unpack these issues? Absolutely not. It's only 30 minutes, and what possibly can you talk about in 30 minutes? But they did touch on some things. Snoop's demeanor and, the way that he came in, it seemed like he was willing to listen. It seemed like he acknowledged his error, and he apologized for his error and understood why he needed to apologize and why it was important for him to apologize. I really don't have anything bad to say. She said that we have a complicated relationship from afar, and everybody knows that Jada has always been vocal about her disdain for the misogyny that's in hip-hop. She's called people out. You can go back and see an old clip of her calling Eazy-E out back in the day of his misogynistic lyrics. So she said to him, I've had a complicated relationship with you from afar, because it is true. Snoop is a likable person. He's not unlikable, in comparison to a T.I., where he doesn't see his error. He came in, and I don't know if it's media training. I don't know if it's really, a growth in him as a person, but based on what he said, like I said, I don't have really anything really any harsh critique, so we're just gonna talk about it. She said she appreciated the way he stood up to Suge, and how he apologized to Gayle. He said, talking down to Gayle, he knew that was wrong. He knew that, but he says that he lost control, and that he thought, what about me? When do I get to be mad? When do I get to cry? When do I get to do these things? And that's something that we should talk about within our community, is how men have this wonderful relationship with the emotion anger. And sometimes that relationship with anger is toxic, but it is the only thing that they've been taught, or only emotion that they nurture, because when they nurture any other type of feelings or crying or anything, they're told to man up, you're a sissy, you're a punk, all of these different things that kind of suppress the other emotions that we should have, are universally provided emotions, that we should be able to have good relationships with all of our emotions, so much so that we don't get unbalanced when we access that particular emotion, as with Snoop, who came in unbalanced with this wonderful relationship that he has with anger, and he lost control and responded to this woman, a black woman, in this derogatory, regressive, you like, why would you revert back to that bitches ain't shit but hoes and trick kind of response? Do you understand? And he admitted, I lost control. But then he said, but what about me? And I could understand that. You know, all the time we say, you know, how men like, what about me? I'm so woe is me and this and that. But when you're talking about somebody's emotions, yes, men should be able to comfortably be vulnerable outside of being angry with their emotions, happy, sad, crying, whatever the other emotions are. They should be encouraged to access those and be encouraged to hug and show affection and love and all of the emotions. You know what I mean? So I kind of understood what he said when he was like, but what about me? Can I be mad? Can I be angry? Yes, you can. But the relationship that you have with anger is so unbalanced that when you access that emotion, you go too far. And we have so many stories of black men, you know, allowing their anger to get so out of control that it ends up hurting somebody or killing somebody. Am I lying? Okay, well, all right. Let me know if I'm lying. He said the reason why he went so hard because he is a fan of Kobe. They're fans. They showed old pictures of them together. And he's saying as the whole person, as a whole man, he felt like it was being disrespectful to who he has grown into as a man. Okay, that's how he sees it. That's how he views it, and that was why he was so angry, as he explains it. You know, you gotta allow people to explain themselves. And like I said, I don't have anything wrong with his explanation. Only one thing that I was like, when he said, but I'll get to that. He said there was a lot of anger behind the death of Kobe Bryant because we are coming off the death and murder or assassination of Nipsey Hussle. And Nipsey Hussle's death, whether you like him or not, it does not matter. To the city of Los Angeles, he was loved, honored, and respected. So you have to understand, being from that region of the world, something like that. Now here's another person who is loved, honored, and respected, and now you get a person with this poorly timed question. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who face the backlash for questions that they ask after Kobe's death. Not just Gayle, but there's a lot of people. I think we're focused so much on Gayle because of how Snoop just really reverted back to bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. You understand what I'm saying? So black men were furious, you know, at Gayle's question. A lot of people were furious. A lot of people were confused. People didn't understand it. You understand? And there's still a lot of people are like, well, when does she get to apologize? I don't think that Gayle, has she apologized? I think did she kind of apologize when she kind of explained the context of the question. But then he started talking about black men feeling targeted and feeling attacked. But it's not black men feeling targeted and attacked. It's black women too. So he said that we should have some sensitivity for our heroes. But I think that is it doesn't do, when it's time to hold the heroes accountable for things that they have done. Now I'm talking about everybody, because in our community, we have a lot of heroes from all different industries, from walks of life and different things like that. And I understand when you feel like someone has done so much for your community or whatever, if you feel that way, then you want to protect that person's legacy. Okay? Now, he said he got caught up in the pain. Girl, go. he got caught up in the pain, he said, and it got bad fast. Yeah, it got caught up in the pain because you have your relationship with emotions. You have a great relationship, but almost toxic, unbalanced relationship with the emotion anger. And hence your regressive ass response. Detrimental, dangerous, violent, all of that. You know, just like Pastor Troy, when he felt like he got people mad, he said, yeah, that's it. Now get mad. You're a man. Get mad. You're telling people, yes, in order to display masculinity, you have to show anger. You get applauded for doing that. You get applauded for having a relationship with anger. Any other relationship with any other emotion, you ain't a man, all of these awful things that make a person feel like they need to suppress other emotions besides anger. He said, they told him it was not what you said, it was how you say it. And I said the other day, like, I was with him when he said, what did that do for you? Why would you do that? Now, when he said, we have expectations of you, and then he went on after that, that's where he lost me. I was like, Snoop, no, you can't have expectations. But the way that they explained it was that we are always having to explain how, when we get angry, when we get mad, when I speak in a loud and a passionate tone, do you know how many people call me an angry black woman? But because we're not allowed to be, and then defend it like there's something wrong with being angry. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's used to, like, say, kind of to dismiss you and kind of to shut you up, is by calling you an angry black woman when all you're doing is expressing yourself with passion, right? But you've been told, don't do this, and now you can't even say, you know what, God damn it, I was fucking mad. I was mad, and I have a right to be mad. Like, he has a right to be mad, but and after all these years and growth, and you would think you're a grandfather, right? You 50-something years old, you got grandkids. And then he was like, then I started thinking about all of the women who are in my life. And that's where I kind of like, it's a sad day when the only protection that I am provided is by men who feel like they have a connection to me. Men who feel like they don't own or have any kind of ownership in relation to a woman, they will not protect her. And I think that's what Jada was like. It's not just the women in your family. It's me. It's Willow. It's Gammy, or whatever they call her. It's all the women. And like Jada said, if we don't have you, who do we have? And that's my gripe. And that's why I'm like, y'all on your own, because the men in my life have not protected me. So I don't, if I'm employing the theory that men only protect what they feel like they own, I'm out here by myself. There's a lot of women who are just by themselves. If something's happening to them on the street, there's no trigger for the man to protect a woman. Like, he could have said whatever he needed to say and use a different set of words, but because of his relationship with anger, he was out of balance and out of control. And that's how I see it. But then he said he was so mad at Gayle because she needed to show respect to that woman and her babies. And I didn't buy into that. I was just like, Snoop, that's not why you said that. You so used to, like I said, you regressed back to this man who is used to disrespecting bitches and calling women dog-faced bitches and threatening them and stuff like that. That's what you reverted back to, what you knew, what you know. And you would think that based on, growth and time, that response would have been different. And so it reminded everyone of how black men really are okay and comfortable with protecting the legacy of a man before even thinking about protecting a black woman. You know, it was easy. It's easier to disrespect her while I'm protecting the legacy of a man, because even when Snoop was getting reprimanded by everybody, even though he said there were more people who were in support of him than weren't, which is kind of alarming to me. There was more people who agreed with his approach than was against his approach. That's very alarming, because if any person thinks that it is okay for a man to respond to a woman the way that Snoop did just because she asked a question, what is it okay? So you can ask Snoop a poorly timed question and he can call you a dog face, or any man. If that's okay, then any man, when you ask him a poorly timed question, he can say, you dog face bitch, I'm gonna pull up on you. You better back the fuck up before we pull up on your ass. That's okay? That you're okay with that message? There's a problem. He said that he realized that he had too much power at that point. I guess when I get, and it's always alarming to me, and that's why I'm very mindful of how I critique black women, because I do not want to make a space for black men and other women who suffer from internalized misogyny to come in and think that what I'm saying is a space that you can come in and start bashing and being abusive and violent and things like that. So I guess when he saw that he had that much power and so many people were agreeing with this negativity that he was spewing, that he was now abusing his power. Like, you have this power and you look what you used it for, and look at how many people responded in like of it. That's alarming to me. For you to be spewing hate and violence and for people to agree with you, there's a problem. That is a serious problem to me. He said his mother called him and his mother was like, you was raised better than that. And then they started getting into the discussion of black boys being raised by women. And I always ask this question. I don't understand how a generation of black men grow up hating black women, but then they have these weird relationships with their mothers, and then they go out and try and find a woman, and if the woman gives any kind of critique, he yells back, you're not my mom. I used to talk to this guy. He did not want me to make his plate because it reminded him of his mother making his plate. And the relationship, like I said this morning, these men have mommy issues and daddy issues. But when you grow up in a society where men have this seemingly disgust and disdain for women, and now these boys are now around, you know, other men and things like that, when a boy gets to a certain age, he wants to flex, he wants to puff his chest out, he wants to do these things because he's been told this is how you perform masculinity. And a lot of that shit is toxic as fuck, and I don't give a damn what you say. A lot of ways that boys are taught how to perform masculinity is toxic, violent, and dangerous. And when you have been taught that your only relationship to an emotion it should be to anger and to violence to prove your masculinity, a lot of people are in harm's way. A lot of people are at risk. And when you spew this shit over the internet, Snoop Dogg, and people are agreeing with you, his mother told him you was wrong. You were wrong the way you said it. He said he got some calls from other men who told him, you know, I understand where you was coming from, bruh, but you did not do that the right way. You really mishandled your influence, if you could say that. You didn't handle it correctly. You didn't handle it correctly. And what I love is the fact that Snoop said, I did not handle that correctly. Like he acknowledged, and that's the lovely thing about apologies. When you acknowledge what you did wrong and to who you did wrong to, and then apologize for what you did and how you made that person feel and how your actions made people feel, and then decide to do better and to change the behavior. That's a beautiful apology. That's why I was like, I can't say nothing, because to me, he seemed very genuine. He seemed sincere about it. Some people might see something different, but I'm telling you what I saw. I saw somebody who understood that what he did and how he did it was wrong. But then let's talk about how Iyanla got on there and was just basically saying, when you have a public platform, whatever advice that you're giving out, whatever messages that you're sending out, whatever you say and whatever you do, it should facilitate healing. So if Snoop got on there and you said, you know what, Gayle, and then like injecting the white people and like, why don't y'all treat us like the way you treat white people? That only goes deeper into the rooted idea and desire to be in proximity to whiteness, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Why don't you treat us like you treat the white people? That's another conversation for another day. But she just said, whatever you say and do should facilitate healing. And that's the bottom line. You're programmed and conditioned. We are programmed. They said we're programmed and conditioned to how we respond. Like, you know, defending our feelings and defending our stances on things. And what's alarming is how easy it is for black men to show a level of disrespect to black women so easily. Even in the mind, like you got a mother, you have a wife you've been with for almost 25 years, who we don't need to talk about your infidelities and your disrespect to your wife, who you're supposed to be honoring and respecting and uplifting. So to me, I feel like if you can talk to Gayle King super duper crazy and then totally forget about your daughters, you don't even uphold the theory that I have that you only protect what you own. Because if you did, then you would see your mother and your wife and your daughters and your nieces in this woman that you're talking to. That's what Jada said. If we don't have y'all, we don't have anyone. Child. The culture of misogyny in our community, you know, like Gammy said, you relapsed. This last album that I heard of yours, you relapsed. And he said, well, guess what? I put out a gospel album and nobody said shit to me. They respond more to the bitches and hoes and misogyny than they do to the gospel music. Now, when you reinforce negativity, guess what you get more of? We talk about it in childhood development. When you reward negativity, when you give attention to negative behavior and you reinforce that negative, it continues. So when he does something what he thinks he feels is a good thing, a gospel album, and nobody says anything, but when you release bitches ain't shit but hoes and trick, everybody is excited and happy and rewarding you for that. Just like when Will Smith said to Charlemagne, you were a person who was rewarded for your behavior, but now you need to grow out of that. You need to grow up, because that behavior is really not you. It's toxic, it's dangerous, and you need to grow out of that. So when you keep rewarding somebody for their negative behavior and their misogynistic lyrics and allowing it to program your community and to send spells over you and your community, you get more of it. What else? They asked him who was his counselor, who did he seek counsel to. I thought that was a wonderful question. I think more black men need more mentorship outside of the fucking disgusting misogynistic ridden barbershop. If you've ever sat in a barbershop and been a fly on the wall or hear the way that men speak about women in a barbershop, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. You would think to yourself, these men hate women. You really do. I think it is a great question to say, who is your mentor? Who are you getting advice from? Who is telling you what you did was wrong? Who is giving you that? You understand what I'm saying? I thought it was a good question. He said Charlie Wilson. Now, if that's good for him, that's good for him. May not be good for somebody else, but that was the only person he mentioned. Overall, I think it was a good interview. Some people say she was too soft. I don't know what could she have said to make you feel better. If you felt, and to get down in the comments, if you felt that Jada was too soft on Snoop Dogg, what do you think, or what questions would you have asked him, or what would you have liked for him to address, or what would you have liked for her to address? Let's get down in the comments. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. Let the diva know you stopped by. Hit the thumbs up on your way out, and we'll talk in the comments. Peace.